Yo, I'm Mat4yo, and this is Chisel this. As usual, since the last rap battle, a lot has happened. There has since been a new rap battle, the one we're digging into today. I took your suggestions for wacky writing prompts and made 3 raps out of them. There's also some rapping in Spanish. You should check it out. Your next assignment is to come up with wacky tongue twisters, phrases that use lots of alliteration too. Try to come up with something of your own instead of looking them up online, and I'll take some of the best and put them in a rap. Also, since the last rap battle, we got a re-edit of an old DRB, which is a welcome addition, and boy was it strange to see a re-edit of a battle with Tim De La Ghetto literally hours after I unexpectedly ran into him in real life. That is trippy. All right, if I don't do this right here in my room and right now, I can't make it happen. It's been weeks, I've been trying to get to it. Unfortunately, a lot has been in the way, so here we go. Welcome to a slightly more streamlined critical analysis. Instead of going line by line, we're going to lay out the law of what this battle does well and what it does weird. Well, this is a battle between revolutionaries, one that is charismatic and suave, and the other being a bit goofy and rambunctious. Nevertheless, both share the revolutionary stigma of naivete and foolishness, and each opponent takes opportunities to point those things out.
You had one job, cabron, to strike a matchstick. You muddled your economy like mint in a mojito.
It's also a battle between lesser-known figures compared to presidents and movie characters. That means that on an out-of-the-box level, the lyrics take opportunities to teach instead of simply make reference. So where you may find that some lines are a little too on the nose, it's a result of the battle becoming a teaching mechanism itself, more than just being a rap battle alone.
I was tortured until I could hardly sign my name, and listening to you felt pretty much the same.
The lyrics demonstrate a clear and well-versed train of connections. For example,
I'm Catholic, I've got mass when I'm rapping. You're an up-chain, that's Bay of Pigs Latin.
Guy brings up the term Catholic, which now opens up a world of words, which is continued by Mass. That's an obvious one, but it doesn't stop there. Catholicism. Mass is often read in Latin. Latin, what about Pig Latin? Pig, how about Bay of Pigs? Each step in that train of thought is a pair. The first term, and then a term related to that, and then a term related to that, and so on. That train of thought is clearly deep, but the joke is still immediate enough to catch on first listen.
I'm the hardest Marxist ever graced a banknote. You're an error-prone terrorist, penny for the scapegoat.
So Che simply references that his face was placed on money, but then he carries that concept into the next line by comparing Guy to a penny. It is common for paraders on Guy Fawkes Day to chant, "Penny for the Guy," but Che continues by replacing the name Guy with scapegoat, or simply the person who took the blame, but not the mastermind. They use that as a connection in terminology, as a bridge to a diss, and it's really clever. It also carries over into the next verse.
So tried to boast about your banknotes with Guido. You muddled your economy like mint in a mojito.
Where Guy Fawkes uses the word mint from the currency vocabulary and then connects it to a mojito, which contains mint, the culinary herb. If you over-muddle mint in a drink, it becomes bitter. If you over-muddle an economy, well, you get the point. That penny for the scapegoat line is also an example of how you don't necessarily need to know about each character to appreciate the disses on first listen. I had not a clue what this meant the first time I watched, but it's worded so viciously that it just has to mean something more. And that understanding of what is not yet understood is enough to warrant an, "Oh, that was tough!" And then even more so, a desire to learn more. When there's deeper meaning hidden behind a much more simple line on the surface, that's when we feel the bars are not connecting. Another example is the Destro line.
Ooh, face it, Ernesto, you're Castro, but less so. He's Cuba commander, you're more of the Destro.
I didn't even realize at first that the word Destro belonged to neither of these characters' universes, but instead the G.I. Joe franchise. It's just woven in so well that you don't really have to know who the Destro is. You just understand by the wording that the Destro is a lesser being than Castro the Cuba commander, and therefore it's funny. These lines work because they are not written simply. Instead, they carry a story. They picture a dichotomy between what is clearly better, a banknote and a Cuba commander, versus what is clearly worse, a penny and the Destro. But simple lines can work.
It's more like V for very bad at.
V for Vendetta is already a complex title to comprehend, so if they were to say more like V for Vanquished, oh, it might be a more serious dig at the character, but it's just not very funny. And this battle really succeeds at just being punchy funny. So it takes that complex high pedestal title and just knocks it down very far, which is clearly only meant to be funny, not a serious dig. The serious digs come from lyrics that manipulate the mechanics of each character's preferred means of rebellion. Che mentions how Guy only had one simple job and couldn't even succeed at that, so how could he succeed at rap? The catch is that the term lit can apply in both scenarios, and they use that well, even if it is a bit confusingly worded.
Got caught with the fuse like your bar. Not lit.
Meanwhile, Guy takes the time to illustrate how Che's massive attempts to squelch capitalism has only resulted in more capital for those who branded his face.
Making capitalists rich, overview on merch. Right.
Remember last episode we talked about whether or not a joke could be stretched out 4 bars and still be funny if there's not enough room to reach the punchline in 2. You have 2 important words that have to be said here, communist and capitalist. That is the comparison. Those are 2 long words to squeeze into 2 bars, considering you need to write a joke around it. So this 4-bar structure really paces the joke out well and drags it out in a meaningful way instead of a wasteful one. But that's how they rebelled. Why did they rebel? You'll see that both characters take a look into the future and project a diss about the current state of both communism and Catholicism.
But look at Venezuela. What you fighting for? Sucks. Sucks. Guy, you died for the Catholics. A group with a bad touching little boys habit.
The visuals are also compelling. Che does not have a realistic environment because he is most recognized as a black and white figure against a simple red backdrop. Guy does have a realistic environment because the real Guy Fawkes is not as widely recognizable as the mask he inspired, and so ERB takes time to educate with what his surroundings might have looked like during his time period. Guy Fawkes is immediately introduced with the mask, but cleverly removes it instead of putting it on. This lets the viewer know, oh, that's the guy who the mask is based on, instead of making them think it's one of the guys who was under the mask today. When it comes to referencing Anonymous and Epic Fail Guy, you have an opportunity to say to yourself, do you want to do that all at once, or do you want to spread that out? Here, they decide to do that all at once. Anonymous, Epic Fail Guy, put them together. That might make people click. Oh, I know Anonymous, I know Epic Fail Guy. Those are 2 internet things. We can bridge them together. They both have the V for Vendetta mask. I get that. So they pile them on top of each other so that you recognize it more clearly instead of making them disparate and it spread a little bit more thin. I think you could do it either way and make an argument for it. You can see that Che does not use the word hanging, but does create a visual reference to it, and the editing shows him yanked and suspended, which creates a visual reflex for us. My favorite thing about the battle, and really the reason why I'm making this episode, was the cigar. You can see Che holds up a cigar, and it's important that this cigar is in color so that we recognize it throughout its important trajectory, because it gets tossed over to Guy, who bats it away onto a barrel. Guy Fawkes can be seen setting up barrels, which I guess are filled with gunpowder or some flammable substance. The cigar gradually sparks more until it shoots out the catalyst that sets all the barrels on fire. Now this could have easily just been a random explosion at the end, but it really shows how the creators have to not only think lyrically, but also visually about how to intertwine these worlds together. One of our chiselers, Ink thinks the 2 Guy Fawkes line is accentuated by a reversed peace sign. Wonderful touch, and positions Guy further as a Brit. Che then returns the gesture at 1:23. Now this is great because the tool that is used to captivate with the communist agenda is normally peace, equality, love, until it actually gets implemented. And that's why Guy is able to flip that peace sign into the British middle finger to really play to that dichotomy of how two-faced revolutions can be. There is always more to gain for the ones leading the revolutions than the ones fighting on the front line, and that is sadly a danger often realized too late. I actually have a song about that if you want to listen.
One of these influences can make a man succeed, but the other turns a man to a steed, a noble and elegant fiend being steered by a king.
Now for the weird. The beat, again, man, I mean, it works like for the first 30 seconds, but there were these moments where I really wanted that mood shift and just didn't get it. I can't just play an example because it's all about the context of watching start to finish, but I feel that fatigue the most when Guy says the Castro Destro line. The only thing that this beat leaves me feeling is that this battle was meant to be perceived as less of a battle than, let's say, a Royale or a season finale. It kept me on that one level because it never had intentions of being on a higher level. It's just a one-off, short, fun rap battle, and I guess that's okay when looking at it in the context of all existing epic rap battles, but it does leave me a little bit dry in the context of just watching this start to finish. I always like Nice Peter's acting. It's cool for me to buy the fact that Guy Fawkes is just a character that we can't really base anything off of. There's not enough about him to create a new character, so they create this entirely brand new epic rap battle style Guy Fawkes instead, and I like that. He has this unique accent that he tries here, but it only comes out in a few certain words.
That's pretty pig's Latin!
There's some culture in that word. I wanted to hear that a little bit more. You have the line where they reference what does the fox say.
Oh, what's the fox say now? When they cut your chunk out!
And I see a lot of people saying, well, that's not fair because it projects an inferiority onto Guy Fawkes when he should be trying to stand up for himself. It's really much more of a joke for the viewer. ERB at its heart is a comedy show. The writers are comedians. You could see it well in many places all throughout rap battle history, but really here, when they try to do those visual jokes, even at the expense of one of the characters. I used to criticize the overemphasis of pace breakers like, oh, but I really do understand their purpose now, and I even sometimes use it myself. But
these rhyme skills are not evenly distributed!
And that's really all I can say negatively about this battle because it does its job of not trying to be more than it actually is. There's good costumes, good voices, good representation of otherwise pretty bad people, and just the right amount of comedically demonstrating how screwy they really were. So it's weird for me how, even though so many things work in this battle, it just really doesn't stand out to me. But like I said, it knows its place and it does what it wants to do well, and that's all I can say about it. Sorry it took so long for me to get to this. Sorry I had to make it a little bit shorter or it just wasn't gonna happen. I have a different life now. I apologize. I try to use my time to do things that I want to do, which is why I hope that you support my original content, like my raps. Why I hope you contribute with a comment for a tongue twister, or maybe I can do a rap about that. Why I hope you'll look forward to my extended playlist with hoops and hip hop. I'm Mat4yo, and that's all. I was never here.
I'm a skinny average Joe, but out of pose, adding adipose, apropos with the protein dose. Not an addict, I'm not gonna act a pro. When I make a line, I'm cracking jokes. I don't need to play dumb, it's a fact I'm dope. In the classroom, passing notes, saying rap's a virus, and I've got the antidote.